Hello and welcome to another episode of Dude, Is This Thing On? I'm Tyler Daswick, and joining me as always, our producer, Emilio Cariati.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Emilio, we have a good show for the people today. Our opener is going to be the surprise announcement this week of Fallout 76 from Bethesda. We're going to talk a little bit about the trailer that released today, and from there we are going to get into Solo, a Star Wars story. The newest Star Wars movie that has really disappointed at the box office and disappointed critically too. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's a really complicated relationship with Solo.
Yeah. And then as always, we'll end with the GB.
All right.
But listen, dude, so this Fallout trailer is interesting, man, because it doesn't tell you at all what kind of game it is.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it's so. I saw like a couple days ago someone posted on Reddit like of the thing on Twitter that was it says please stand by, and they did the same thing for Fallout 4. Right. When that dropped, it was the same sort of like gimmick, which was cool. Like I like how they kind of incorporate that into the game itself. And so I saw that and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm totally ready for another Fallout game. Let's fucking do this. And I saw the teaser. You sent it to me. Right. And I don't know what to make of it.
So the Fallout stands have identified Vault 76 as one of, like, the control vaults. So there were, like, the...
It's like a 101-esque.
Yeah. So there were the vaults that functioned normally like they were supposed to. And then they, of course, had all the experimental ones, which... are probably the high point of every Fallout game. Just super awesome. And I guess 76 was one of the first ones to open, and it opened like 20 years after the nuclear war or whatever. So everything is still kind of like fresh and like, I don't know, mutations might look different or whatever.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this a new standalone game, or is this just a massive DLC for Fallout 4?
I don't know. From how it looks like it could easily be an expansion.
Yeah.
It looks so similar to 4. It definitely looks like, I feel like it is a console game. I read on Polygon that it is a console game. So I don't know if it stands alone or not. I hear the kind of troubling thing that I hear is that it is going to have an intense online component.
Oh.
I know. And it is going to the foundation of the gameplay might be a lot of the like settlement building sort of like more like crafting RPG mechanics that were introduced in 4 as opposed to just kind of like exploration and gunplay and combat and all that stuff.
Well, it's the combination of those two things that made the fucking game fun. Like, why are they... Like, I love the base building sort of aspect of it, but I also love shooting people. You know, I spent a lot of time in both of those realms, so I don't understand why they're now being like, okay, well, we're going to focus on the slower aspect of that, because it's fun, but obviously, like, exploration and shooting people is the basis of Fallout. What the fuck?
Yeah, and it's also just like exploring this world that the hope is they've spent a lot of time and energy like putting a lot of detail into and specificity into, and that's probably why everyone says 3 is the best world and New Vegas might be the best game to play. But I mean, I just feel like especially if it goes online and it suddenly becomes about like journeying to other people's settlements and interacting with other players, like that's not why I play a Fallout game.
I play Fallout to be alone. I don't want to deal with other fucking people. Really, it's cool having a community of modders, but that's fine. I don't want them in my life.
Right, exactly. And you know, when we would talk about Fallout in high school and when we talk about it on the show, what makes it fun to talk about is relating those little like kind of random stories and encounters and little narratives that you build like just yourself, like stumbling into the drive-in movie theater in Fallout 3 and getting blown to bits because a raider has rigged all of the old cars with grenades, and I set off the trap and got absolutely killed. That's like a cool story, was a cool random moment in the game that was exciting, and I feel suddenly if that sort of storytelling and world becomes contingent on me interacting with other humans, suddenly that becomes like a very like different experience that could potentially be super aggravating.
Yeah, I don't want to deal. Other people are assholes.
Right.
And I like just getting lost in the world myself. I don't want to. I just don't know. Here's what I'll say: it's just there's not enough information. There's really not. Like
all speculation.
This is all speculation. Like you sent me the teaser, and I was like, well, that's a game. Like I'm super into it because I'm super into anything Fallout, but like I don't know what to make of it. I just don't know. I don't fucking know. But I mean, if Bethesda's involved, I have some hope. A lot of people like poo-poo Bethesda for different decisions that they've made, but like I still regard them as one of the best developers out there. So, if they're involved, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. What are some of the criticisms, just for my knowledge?
Some of the criticisms involve like different things that they've done with like the modding community, which I'm not a modder, like, so it doesn't really affect me that much. But a lot of people who play, especially on the PC, are heavily modding Fallout and Skyrim and all that jazz, everything that Bethesda does, really. And, like, they've taken steps to kind of monetize on that and restrict certain people from giving away, like, content for free, especially on the Xbox. If you want to download mods on the Xbox, you're going to have to pay for it. I don't know if have you played Fallout 4? Do you have Fallout 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to the main menu and it just shows like, press X to open the mod menu, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Go in there. Originally, if memory serves me correctly, I could be totally fucking wrong here, but if memory serves correct, when it originally dropped for the Xbox One, you could download them for free, but that only lasted like a month or two before they stepped in and started like kind of trying to monetize on it. So that really rubbed people the wrong way. And then there's the whole Fallout 3 versus Fallout New Vegas sort of debacle.
Right.
Which I didn't even know was a fucking thing until like, a couple months ago. I always thought Fallout 3 was considered like the best, but then people are coming out saying that sucks and that the true Fallout experience is on New Vegas, which I disagree with, but whatever.
Yeah, I didn't really playing both games. I was a big fan of both. And what are some of like the distinctions that people make? I guess people like the sort of like choice elements and kind of gunplay and survival mode stuff of Vegas.
They do. I think honestly a lot of it stems with the fact that Vegas is created by like some of the original designers, like Obsidian.
Okay.
And so there's that history kind of attached to it, that lineage, while Bethesda kind of came in and Bethesda'd it up, and a lot of people didn't like that for whatever reason. I thought they did a good service because they pulled it out of like obscurity, really, because I didn't really know about it. I remember hearing very vaguely about Fallout when I was a very young kid, but I never played it. And I think that Fallout New Vegas wouldn't exist without Fallout fucking 3, and that Obsidian really didn't do too much to add to their own game. They just added a couple different elements and then took the exact same engine and then just made a desert out of it instead of like the Capital Wasteland. So, I don't know. But that's me personally. A lot of people will argue that like the gunplay and stuff like that is really different enough to justify like the new game, and it's much better than Fallout 3. I don't fucking know. A lot of people just consider Fallout New Vegas the better game. Which when I played it first, because I played it on the 360, it was so unplayable because there was just so many fucking bugs. And don't get me wrong, like Fallout 3 had a shit ton of bugs too, but I didn't run into a single one that kept me from completing a mission, let alone like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 missions during those first few months when it came out, where like I couldn't get into the Vegas Strip for like a month.
Yeah.
There was no way. Each one of the missions, hand to God, that would allow me to get in there was so bugged that I like couldn't complete it. And so I just ran around for a month until that first patch came out.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest for a second, am I crazy to say that, all the desert stuff was a cool idea, but it just
was really boring.
It was kind of boring.
Yeah,
even
nothing.
Even the Vegas Strip felt weirdly small, and
no, it was not even weirdly, like, it was small, like, especially if you're walking down like a huge city. I love how this has become the fucking Fallout podcast,
right?
Episode Fallout, fuck. Especially when you're walking through like DC and stuff like that, you could pretty much go to any building and there's a door that leads into it, and you know, it may not be the hugest building in the world, but at the very least, you can explore it. But it's so many different locations in the Mojave, just nothing. Like a little campsite with like a mattress and maybe like an ammo locker. And
right.
It was just constant. So I always try and clear the map. Like I was trying to hit every single location in a Fallout game. And when I was doing it with New Vegas the first time around, it really dawned on me like, wow, there's not really a lot of interesting stuff going on out here. Just a lot of bugs and a lot of dirt.
Yeah. So here, let's wrap with this. So we have no expectations for what Fallout 76 is. There are just rumors and speculations. But what do you hope? What's your hope for what this looks like?
My hope is that it's a full standalone game. Even if the engine is pretty similar, like technologically to Fallout 4, that's fine. A lot of people didn't like the aesthetic of Fallout 4. I thought it was totally fine. I dug it. The only thing I didn't dig was the fact that my character had a fucking voice, like, kind of took me out of it a little bit. But yeah, no, the rest of the game was good enough that it wasn't that big of a fucking deal. But I hope it's a standalone game, and that's really it. Like, if it's a standalone game, I kind of think like they'll be able to work with it. More customization. I felt like Fallout 3 had a lot, strangely, just a lot more choices of like gear and stuff. I know with Fallout 4 you could, customize your individual weapons, but honestly, every single weapon had like the same three like things that you could do to it. You could either make it like a longer barrel or make it semi-auto or automatic, like just. And there weren't as many weapons. There was like 5 or 6 core weapons. It kind of just got like a little stale a little too quickly. I definitely put less hours in Fallout 4 than Fallout 3. That being said, I put in like 400 hours in Fallout 4. So I still put in a shit ton of my life into that fucking game. But I will say that I definitely put in a lot more into Fallout 3. So I don't know, stuff like that. Technologically, I thought it was fine. I thought it was really pushing like the technology in a really huge, expansive open world game like that. I mean, story-wise, I have no idea what to even think about it. I hope it's a standalone game and it's not just DLC, because I love Bethesda, but their DLC always is very limited.
Yeah.
Just because like the world they have to build is so big, but that always means that the scale for the DLC is always lacking. You can blow through it in like a couple hours, and not a lot of replayability in their DLC.
Yeah. So. I just hope there's a commitment to single player. I feel like
obviously.
I feel like maybe we talked about this when Battlefront and all that stuff was happening, is that there's kind of this assumption that people just want kind of multiplayer games and arenas and competitions and all this stuff. Like, just like throw me in a cool story and make me the hero and give me.
Well, that Xbox is suffering right now, and this would be a good opportunity for them to get some good players on the field, because it's a fucking desert out there right now. And I know they're aware. Fucking Phil Spencer comes out all the time. He's like, I get it. We need more like original content out there to compete with. But like, when is that coming? Because I just saw the Battlefield 5 trailer, and that looks like a fucking mess. So like, that's obviously not going to help us out. Even in the multiplayer like verse, that just looks terrible. I can't. Oh, God, that was just an awful trailer. I'm just going to chalk that up to being a shit trailer, and hopefully it's still good. Especially coming off of Battlefield 1, which I really liked. I know a lot of people didn't. But yeah, there's nothing out there. I'm going back and replaying Halo games like for single player right now.
Jeez, man. Well, that's Fallout 76. The trailer's on YouTube, and I guess they're going to do a showcase at E3 on June.
E3. It's a couple
June
weeks.
10th, I think, is when they were going to give the deets. So we'll stay tuned.
I'm very excited for this E3 because it's going to determine the next 2 years of my entertainment.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, I think it'll be sweet. I'm I'm always kind of jazzed for the Nintendo stuff, but I don't know. That Switch is the idea of buying a Switch is still talking to me. I don't know.
Why don't you? You should get one. I bought my girlfriend one. She fucking loves it. She plays Zelda all the time.
I should. They have great games. They have great exclusives. They're porting good games all the time. They got Doom. They have they're importing old like good even games from the Wii, like Donkey Kong Country. Like I'd play that. I should do this.
Yeah,
I'm talking.
They're doing Donkey Kong like Tropical Storm or something like that.
Hurricane, whatever. Yeah.
Hurricane Kong. I don't fucking know. Looks good though.
Yeah.
The Mario Kart can't go wrong. New Smash Brothers. Like
I know, dude.
Touche. Like I just don't fucking get it. Like Xbox had everything going for it, and it got surpassed by Nintendo. Not to poo-poo Nintendo, but they had 2 shit consoles in a row.
Yeah.
And they came back in just a blaze of glory, and somehow Xbox is still like just dropping the controller. I don't fucking get it.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, speaking of dropping things, let's transition to Solo, a Star Wars story.
All right,
man. This has been it's been a hard movie to give a take on. I feel
it has, because for me, I have almost no opinion on it. I have almost no opinion on this movie. It's just that like stale to me.
So I think that's compelling and weirdly like significant and important when we're talking about Star Wars. But let's just evaluate the movie first, and then we can kind of zoom out, because I'm that's actually where like my writing on the movie went for the website here. Is I was kind of getting into like sort of like kind of classic like review mechanics and what was good, what was bad, and then I just kept finding myself coming back to like, but wait a minute, like why just do I not care that much? This is a Star Wars movie. So our conversation will get there, but let's start with positives first. What was the best part of the movie, or the best elements of the movie?
Best part of the movie. It was, for the most part, well acted. Is like one of the most positive things I could say about it. Who's the guy who plays Solo? He's got a weird name.
I've learned to say it. It is Alden Ehrenreich.
Alden, he did a good job. I don't know. I'm assuming people don't, because when he got cast, people did not like the choice. I thought he captured Han Solo fucking perfectly. What I will say is the writing did not help him really sort of like come to that character in the best way, and that's just across the board for all of the characters.
I agree.
Woody Harrelson's character was very interesting. I thought he was well acted. Maeve from Westworld had a little appearance before she died.
Yep. She got canned.
Even what's her face? Even
Emilia Clarke
did fine.
Dude,
she did really good.
I think
good jump from like TV to really movies. Yeah. I know there's Terminator, Genesis, but we don't count
it. Doesn't
that.
Matter. I thought she was better in this movie than she is in Game of Thrones, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think she's a very good actress in Game of Thrones, so I didn't really...
Probably not that good of an actress in general.
So here's something that maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to... Based on this movie, she was fine. Here's something where we might heavily disagree on, only because I know you really hold this guy in high regard. What did you think of Donald Glover's acting?
Okay. Now, the one thing I didn't like is he really tries to do like a Billy D. Williams impression with the voice. Not great. Not a great choice.
No, it wasn't. He can't maintain it. That's his problem.
Yeah, it comes and goes. But dude, I think one of the best parts in the movie is the card game where we meet him. He has so much magnetism and charisma, and I just was like, oh man, like this suddenly felt like it kind of took a jump into something better. And I think that's kind of my cliff notes and what we texted about after you were coming out of the movie. The first, man, this is a 2-hour, 15-minute movie. First 40 minutes are rough.
Just not great.
There's like a probably like 45-minute chunk in the middle that starts with them meeting Lando Calrissian. They get to the Falcon, and then they have this little heist in the middle that ends with the Kessel Run, and and that is all awesome. In my view, it's pretty awesome. As soon as that's over, and they kind of get back into, oh wait, let's tie this into all the original movies territory.
Oh, God, why did they do that?
It's very mediocre from there. There's like a middle chunk that's good, that I think is actually like a pretty solid movie.
Do you know who I blame for this? Whatever the fuck this is. Do you know who I blame?
You could blame a number of people, I feel.
I blame Jon Favreau.
What?
And his goddamn Marvel Cinematic Universe bullshit, because that's exactly what they are trying to do. And I really was hoping that they would really kind of walk the line better, but no, Disney's just as fucking money hungry. They already have Marvel, and now they have Star Wars, and they're trying to do their own expanded cinematic universe for Star Wars with all the lore and the books and the comic books and all the other horse shit that I, as a really big Star Wars fan, do not fucking read, okay? You don't have to read all that stuff to be the world's quote-unquote biggest Star Wars fan, all right? I've been watching Star Wars since I was 3 years old. I've seen every single movie at least a dozen times. Like, I am in it to win it. Doesn't mean that I've read every single fucking comic book that's been, like, written, you know? I'm a huge Halo fan. I've read some of the books, but I fucking haven't read all of them, and that's why I don't like these most current games, is because they're trying to do their own video games cinematic universe horse shit, tying in all the stickers and the stupid comic books and all the crap. Like, oh, the Grunt has this on the sticker that came out in 2012. So I don't give a shit, you know? And Star Wars did the exact same thing, and that was the biggest travesty of this movie, is that at the end, they couldn't help themselves but really shoehorn a character at the last fucking second to just retroactively tie it into the rest of the other shit that's come out that has the Star Wars logo on it.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. Terrible. It really tanked it. I can't figure out is, you know, like, Star Wars is so popular. It is one of the most popular and beloved. Well, even beloved is weird, because I heard someone say, and I think it is so true, that the people who love Star Wars the most hate it the most too. And like,
yeah, I know. I think we made that comparison with the last movie, that like Star Wars fans are the biggest complainers ever because they hate their own like products.
Yeah, no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Yeah, exactly.
And what I can't figure out is, here comes this movie, which is the next kind of tentpole in this huge, huge property, and it just totally tanks. Like 80 million on Memorial Day weekend. On a movie that, by the way, dude, they had to literally make twice.
Oh, God, Ron Howard, that's right.
They had to make this movie twice. It cost them $250 million. It's the most expensive Star Wars movie ever, and they're probably going to lose money on it. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy to go in the red on Star Wars. Even Phantom Menace went black hard. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So I remember now. Yeah, Ron Howard got replaced the brothers. I want to say it's not the Duplass brothers. That was 2 weeks ago.
No, there are these two guys. I think Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Lord and Miller.
That's right. Lord and Miller.
They did the Lego Movie, and then they did 21 and 22 Jump Street.
Yes, exactly. Great fucking movies. And then they replaced it with Ron Howard, which, hey, you know what? I like Ron Howard movies. Don't get me wrong. But he does this fucking thing where he has to stick his dick in everything that he touches and lets you know that, hey, I'm Ron Howard and I directed this. I get it. Your brother's Clint Howard and you're the only person giving him work. Please don't put him in my fucking Star Wars movie. Please. Please don't put the guy from Willow in my Star Wars movie. Please. Or whoever that guy was. Who is the dwarf character? Isn't he from that was a cameo to something, wasn't it? I don't even know my fucking cameos I'm getting angry at. Damn you, Ron Howard. Who is that character? It doesn't matter. Clint Howard.
Yeah. What I can't also figure out is the process behind this movie is so it almost defies belief, but in a lot of ways it totally meets your expectations of corporate control and you know how business meets creativity and all this stuff. But when this script came out, so it's by Lawrence Kasdan, who did Empire Strikes Back, and then his son, so little Kasdan, they worked on it together, and apparently when it was presented to Disney, someone got their eyes on it and said on decent authority that it was maybe the best Star Wars script ever. And so it then goes from the best Star Wars script ever to let's find these two kind of like experimental, sort of renegade, like maybe on like the goofier, lighter side, obviously more comedic side directors. Let's strike a very specific tone with this movie, and let's introduce a sort of like vibe and atmosphere to Star Wars that we haven't really had yet. Kind of like what you're seeing in Marvel with Logan, with Thor Ragnarok, that you saw with the Guardians movies early on.
Yeah,
like they're leaning harder into these kind of like, they're not genre plays because they're all superhero movies. They're all like sci-fi, you know, whatever.
But they're like thematic. Almost.
Right. Like they're striking different notes. They're playing different instruments. And we start to go that way with Star Wars, and then Disney checks in on the movie when it's done with production, and they're like, "Oh, actually, no. A Star Wars movie begins as like, let's just take place in this world," but then Disney kind of says, "Oh no, a Star Wars movie actually means a certain tone, a certain atmosphere, a certain vibe." So they send in Ron Howard to save the day. He literally reshoots, and this is an exact reported percentage, 70% of the movie.
Jesus Christ.
And
no wonder the acting was so flat. They didn't want to fucking redo the whole
right.
thing.
And they come out with this movie that, to me, you know, is fine and serviceable, but is ultimately so disappointing because it feels like every other Star Wars movie, and it is so indistinct from everything else. And it was not supposed to be that way. This is supposed to be the playground. These standalones are supposed to be when, Rogue One, let's do a war movie. They made a war movie, and then Disney was like, actually, no, let's make a Star Wars movie instead. But Star Wars can be a war movie. No, it can't. It can't be that. Like,
I can totally imagine like the guy in the writing room being like, "But wait a second, what if we made a Star Wars movie instead?" He just does that for every fucking thing that they say. God damn it. Yeah, I totally understand. Like, I feel the same way about Rogue One. It's part of the reason that I fucking hate Rogue One so much is because I knew what it could have been, and there was just little nuggets of what it could have been in there, and what it became was just really boring. And Solo was the same way. There was a way to make an interesting Star Wars Ocean's 11 comedic heist
I totally agree.
And they fucked it up. Just like there was a way for them to make an almost either Saving Private Ryan Rogue One, or I thought it would have been personally interesting if they went like espionage fucking like kind of thriller with it, because it has to do with like spying on the Death Star plans and shit. Either way, would have been a way better fucking movie than what they made, and it's just boring, generic, money hungry bullshit. It kills. It really does. I knew Disney was going to do that. Yeah,
and it's amazing because as the low risk approach with Marvel, and even like, you know, Guardians and Thor Ragnarok and all those kind of plays, like even Infinity War, these kind of like quote unquote like high risk movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whatever, like those are low risk movies. Like there's a limit to how much they let people play with this stuff. And it's so interesting that in Marvel it just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting, and people are spending money on these movies and they're going over and over and over again. And here's something that's equally popular in Star Wars. They take the same like low risk, let's just try to please everybody, let's not get too out there, it's not too different, and it totally bit them in the ass on this one. And I can't figure out if it's because the movie isn't really that good, or if it's just because we had a Star Wars movie 6 months ago.
I think that's it's probably a combination of the two. Like, the movie's not good. Like, just because of the things that we pointed out. It's flat acting. The characters aren't very well developed. We don't get enough time with any one particular character to, like, give a shit about them. Like, Maeve, can't remember her character in this. She dies like 20 minutes after she's on screen. Right. And it's supposed to be like impactful to Woody Harrelson's character. And he's like, no! And then there's a brief funeral scene, and then she's pretty much not brought up again for like the rest of the movie. And neither is Rio. I'm surprised I remember his name. Like, he got shot in the shoulder, and it was like dramatic, and it's like, I'm fine, remember me. And it's like, nope, bye.
Right.
Like, we're totally getting away from you guys. So why even introduce those fucking characters to begin with? Like, what the hell is the point of any of this? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Solo's likable, but he's not likable enough to carry the rest of the movie. Same thing with Lando Calrissian. And there's problems with his character, too. It's just like, I don't know, man. I think the main thing is, like, why the Marvel movies are so much more popular is that being superhero movies, they can, and I know the Star Wars and Jedi are kind of like superheroes, blah, 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 blah. But with, like, comic book superhero movies, like, as source material, you can go real wacky with that shit. You can go, like, real crazy. You can really go, like, Guardians of the Galaxy with a talking raccoon.
Yeah.
Or, you know, my girlfriend made a good point. She said that the Rio character is supposed to be like the Rocket of like their team, and he kind of fills that like niche. And I thought that was actually pretty accurate. But yeah, you can have a Guardians, you can have a Venom movie, you know, which actually looks like not bad. I saw the trailer like as Star Wars was playing, and you can have like Thor Ragnarok and shit, and it can be zany and crazy, and there's an unlimited number of crazy ass comic book characters that you can make obscure movies about, like Doctor Strange or Ant-Man. You know, you really can't even though people would probably jizz themselves, can't make a fucking like Guido
right.
Star Wars movie, you know, everyone's gonna be like, who the fuck is that? You know, like, you're just not gonna be able to really sell that. I think that's probably like a main contributing factor too to why that's more successful. It's probably just marketed better. I don't know. I didn't see too much traction with Solo besides the one trailer that came out.
I mean, that's such a great point. Like that, and that speaks to the production too. And we had talked about it on the show too. Didn't the first trailer for this come out alongside the Super Bowl, which was February. So 3 months ago, which for Disney, here's your huge franchise tentpole. Here's going to be your only Star Wars movie until the end of next year. This is your chance to go all in, get that money, and they were kind of hiding it. Like,
yeah, well, that's because they had blown so much fucking money on production that they didn't want to go. They knew they weren't going to recoup their money. They knew. Like, they're not idiots. They can see a shit movie and be like, well, this is not going to make us any money.
Yeah.
And so they didn't want to spend even more money and then lose even more money advertising it.
Right.
You know, they were just like, here's a Super Bowl. We're going to spend a cool couple million on the biggest night in America, really. And whoever sees it and wants to come see the movie is going to see it and going to come see the movie. And that's a cool way to blow $10 million or however much they fucking spent on that ad. And we'll see you at the box office. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. You know what else you provoked me to think about is, you know, whenever I hear people talk about the Marvel movies, and they were like longtime comic fans, something I hear over and over is that the feeling of growing up and loving these comic book characters and loving Captain America and Iron Man and I don't know, the Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever, like it is always kind of like a little bit of a trip to see them in a movie. It's like, oh, wow, like, man, they made an Ant-Man movie, and it's awesome and popular, and now he's in the Avengers. And I have literally, over the past decade, seen this Infinity War comic book storyline literally play out where the movies are the comic books. And we've, like, basically watched through this series that I loved growing up. That's crazy. And that kind of, like, novelty, that special feeling drives a lot of loyalty and has created obviously a whole bunch of fans around that culture. But Star Wars kind of has the opposite, where it is rooted in movies. It's rooted in movies people really, really love. Obviously, like Force Awakens comes out, and the argument's made that the scarcity of Star Wars, the return of Star Wars, makes that a huge cultural event. And oh my gosh, another Star Wars. We don't have a lot of these. You
can count on, two hands, really.
Right. And that becomes like the most successful movie ever. And then, Rogue One made $1 billion and wasn't a great movie, but kind of had the same kind of oh wow, we're getting new Star Wars. This is still kind of crazy. Last Jedi, then
really divisive,
super divisive movie. Obviously made some decisions. We've talked about that a lot, but that was the first sign where really since the prequels, but even in a different way than the prequels, we see even people who love Star Wars can really hate Star Wars.
I know. It was awful. If you ever see that footage of Nature's Metal or something like that, where it's a lion eating her own cub, it's kind of like that. It was like going to the zoo and seeing an animal do something horrific to itself or another animal.
Yeah.
When the little cat jumps into the grill thing and it just fucking pops out like a grape. That was pretty much what that looked like from afar. And you and I mean, if anyone's listening, they can go back to the first or second episode, and through the garbled, staticky mess that was our second attempt at recording, you can hear us talk about Star Wars and how we're wasn't that bad. I don't know what the fuck people are freaking out about. It took some risks, but honestly, Star Wars probably needed some. Right. But I always thought that the main movies, I at least could take comfort in that they were good. The first one to come out, The Last Jedi, was an objectively good movie. People really fucking liked that one. They really responded to it well. And then Rogue One came out, and I was like, okay, well, that was a fucking travesty. But it was just a B plot, B storyline movie, so it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Then the second movie comes out, and people lost their bananas. And now I feel like that is going to set the tone for the next. There's 2 more movies that are coming out. 3 more movies. What's happening? Potentially
countless more movies. There's
well, that's on the calendar.
On the calendar, we have episode 9 at the end of next year. J.J. Abrams is back to kind of close that chapter. And then I know that they're writing, our guy, James Mangold, who did 3:10 to Yuma, Logan, all that stuff. He is working with his longtime collaborator on a script for a Boba Fett movie.
Okay, that's right. I'd heard
that's confirmed. And then Disney has not denied the early stages of an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie.
That's right. I've heard that too. I always that's really in the
right.
ether, because people are. It's sort of the same thing where Donald Glover was going to be the next Spider-Man, where they're talking to Ewan McGregor about reprising his role. Yeah, I'd heard about that. So officially we got 2 more that are coming out, and so I think it's maybe going to set the tone of the palette of people that are going to go in there being well, they're going to go in arms crossed and well, this movie's going to be shit, but I'm going to watch it anyway. And hey, you know what? I've been there. I'd buy Halo 4 and 5. I thought the same fucking thing, but you really shouldn't go in with that attitude. But it's very hard if you've been disappointed or you had expectations that were not met to go in there being well, I'm going to give them a 3rd and 4th chance.
Right.
Especially if you considered it a grave injustice like the past 2 or 3 movies that they did. So
yeah,
I could see it going either way.
What I can't figure out is, especially if you put them alongside Marvel, why does my mom, for example, be like, oh, Spider-Man. Okay, I'll go see Spider-Man. And it conjures up, it is able to pull all of these people who are just Spider-Man, sure, whatever. And they just go. Whereas my mom would never do that with Han Solo.
I don't know. I feel like
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we should do a case study on this. I feel like get PBS on the phone. I feel like with like Spider-Man and stuff like that, they're not even like. I don't know. I think maybe it's just because the history of Marvel. Like, don't get me wrong. There's obviously a history of Star Wars there. That's there. But there have already been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Spider-Man movies before the most recent appearance of him. 6 or 7 Spider-Man movies before the most recent appearance of him. So just Spider-Man alone already pretty much has as many movies as the entire Star Wars franchise. And Star Wars has been around since the 70s. Spider-Man, really, the movies have only been around since the early 2000s. So you have 6 movies in like 2 decades versus what? It's 6... 7, 8, 9, 10 in 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe it's just because like it's just I don't want to say it's more well known because to you and me, of course fucking Star Wars is well known. Of course we know who Han Solo is, but a lot of people may not know, but there are fucking Spider-Man t-shirts like all over the place and have been forever. An Amazing Spider-Man and jokes about it that people would talk about him shooting web on chicks and all this stupid shit. Like it permeates everybody's sort of culture, while Star Wars might not do that for everyone who isn't like a quote unquote nerd.
Okay.
You know? Like jocks know about fucking Spider-Man. They may not know about Boba Fett.
Yeah. Okay. So that I am starting down this train of thought now where like we're now in this like stupid like cultural cliche where it's like being a nerd is cool and everyone is kind of a nerd because everyone's into superheroes now. Like that's just it's popular culture. But I wonder like
that's the name of the podcast. No. Like how you just said that. All right, yeah, sorry.
But like why is it possible, and I'm asking this rhetorically because I'm speculating that it is, that Star Wars is nerdy in a bad way, and we've just accidentally identified that through Solo, who by all accounts is the least nerdy part of Star Wars. He's not.
I know he's the one that all the chicks want to sleep with.
It's Harrison Ford. He's super cool. He's not doing anything dumb with the Force or magic or a laser sword. He just kind of saunters into a bar on the desert planet, looks around and is like, can you believe these fucking aliens? And just
looks at the camera.
Right. Like,
yeah, I know, right? Like probably it's hard for us to tell because I don't think that about Star Wars. I don't think it's nerdy at all. I think it's cool, but then you really try and dissect. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll say is that with the Marvel movies, there's a lot of fan servicey stuff for people who really dedicated their time to the Wikipedia pages and the comic books and the fucking forums and shit like that. And there's stuff for them in there. But if you don't do that, like myself, I can still go see a movie like Black Panther and be like, it's fun. Like, good movie, right? Like, but that's fine. I went for a fucking action comic book movie. And I can go in and expect to at least be entertained for the next 2.5 hours. While with Star Wars, because, and this all goes back to what you said before, like, Marvel has the comic books as its base. So if you're a really big fan, then you've already done the literature and the reading. But because they're based on movies, the Star Wars things, and those come out a lot less frequently, you know, especially if you've been watching since like 74 or 5, when the fuck the first one came out, I can't even remember. You were so starved for like media in between those movies coming out and then the second set of movies and now the third set of movies that you took anything that you could fucking get. New Star Wars book came out. I'm the biggest Star Wars fan ever. I'm going to read that cover to cover 15 times. New fucking Star Wars video games coming out. 8-bit. I'm on.
Right.
Like, give me that fucking 8-bit Star Wars game. I'm going to dissect these 8-bit characters and learn every bit of their 8 bits on their stupid bit faces so that if a movie is ever made in the fucking future about this character, I will know. And those people are hard fucking core, and I feel like Star Wars is kind of trying to service those types of fans. because they have a lot of expectations from people who are our age and younger when the first ones came out that are like, I've waited 30 fucking years for this movie. You better impress. So they go out of their way to try and like service those people, and the rest of us just get left in the dust.
Yeah, man. And the other thing I was thinking too, and this is it's a different tone than a lot of what we've been talking about, but as I was writing the review especially, I was just thinking back and I was like, man, it's just like it stinks that the movie's not that good. But I also just we're in this moment now where Star Wars is just like really normal and routine. Like
I never wanted it to be that.
Like it's so weird that like I remember when Force Awakens came out, and as soon as I could get tickets, I texted my dad, and because I remember the first movie I remember seeing in a theater, probably wasn't my first theater movie, was The Phantom Menace.
That's funny. I think that might actually be my first movie that I remember seeing.
No way.
My dad took me and my sister, my older sister, because my younger one was still like way too young to go into a theater.
Dude, I still remember, and the reason it's the first one I remember is when Darth Maul splits in half. I remember that like kind of startling me and like scared me.
Yeah, I remember my little sister cried when Qui-Gon Jinn got killed, and I was like, oh shit, the stakes are real. My dad's like consoling her, and I'm just like, Obi-Wan, you better fucking kill this guy. I remember waiting in line for that movie. That's like some of my earliest memories are waiting in line outside of the theater with my dad and him, because I had seen the Star Wars movies. I have bits and pieces of like my very earliest memories being the original Star Wars movies in Italian.
Oh my god!
My dad had. He had it on like VHS that he like bootlegged in Italian from when he was in college. Wow. And at the time, I could understand it because I could speak Italian when I was that young. But him just like recapping it to me while we're in line, he's like, and remember, he goes into the thing, and then there's the Darth Vader, and da 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 da, and that's so amazing that I still have those memories, you know, of my dad and stuff like that. And now it's just like, oh yeah, new Star Wars. Like literally, I looked at my girlfriend when Solo came out, and I'm like, want to go see Solo? She's like, not really, and I'm like, kind of need to for the podcast. That's how hyped I was for that. How the fuck did that happen?
I don't know, man. It made me really like, I don't know if nostalgic is the right word, but it made me kind of bummed out that, you know, Star Wars isn't special anymore. That sucks. Like
I know.
Like I remember that feeling when Force Awakens came back. I had got tickets with my dad, and I was like, I can't believe this. Like, I'm about to watch a new Star Wars movie in a theater. This is crazy. And like the title appears, and it was like how emotional. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And that didn't really persist in Rogue One, but The Last Jedi kind of reconjured that a little bit. And this one, man, I was sitting there and I was like, this doesn't feel like it matters to me that much. Like why?
No, it didn't. I didn't care about
why.
Any
like
of the characters.
why am I not like anticipating this? Why am I not like, oh, I can't wait to see how he's going to meet Chewbacca? Why don't I care about any of this? And
like there's something missing. I don't know. Here's what I will say. I've heard other people like on podcasts and interviews and shit talk about exactly what you felt right there, when they were young and their parents took them to the original Star Wars versus when they were older and going with those same parents to go see the Phantom Menace and the prequel trilogy. They were very disappointed because they had waited 20 years or whatever for it. But here's the thing. The nightmares stopped after 3 movies. We unfortunately have already had way more than that, and there's no sign that it's going to slow up so long as people still show up, because now it's not about the art of Star Wars or the storytelling of Star Wars or the characters of Star Wars or the universe of Star Wars. It is now about how much fucking money we can pull in. And the same thing is happening with Marvel. Like, I don't really like Marvel movies either. I can go in and be entertained by them. I really couldn't say that for Solo, unfortunately, but I'm not a huge fan. I don't have the t-shirts. I don't have fucking tattoos. Some people at work, I go to work with, have like Marvel tattoos. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it will continue. It'll continue like this until they've milked that cow dry, unfortunately, because that's sort of how these universes work. That's why Jon Favreau's a fucking asshole. He's ruined it.
God damn it, Jon Favreau.
Fuck. Well, that's it. That's just another thing that we can't look on too fondly. You have to be like, the Star Wars movies are great except for blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Once you have that accept in whatever you think is great, it's no longer great anymore. It's really unfortunate.
Nothing is sacred. It's all about all about the business, man.
It's all about the Benjamins.
That is Solo, a Star Wars story. It's in theaters and will probably be in theaters a lot for not as long as anyone expected.
I don't know when they're going to pull it, but it's going to be on a Netflix near you very soon, I guarantee you.
Yeah, wow. All right, man, that's that. What do you have for the grab bag this week?
For the grab bag, honestly, all I've been doing is playing old Halo games, so all I can recommend is if you have not played any of the original Halo series, go back and fucking play them, because they're great, and then forget that Halos 4 and 5 exist.
So, here, let me actually ask you this, because we are about to go through the old games. I've never played them.
Yes,
so
I've talked.
So I have an Xbox One. How do I get the old Halo games?
Well, okay, so there's a few different ways that you can fucking get it. So the original Halo has been readapted for like 4 times already.
Wow.
So it got originally released on the original Xbox, and then they had like a Game of the Year sort of edition, so that's 2, and then it got ported over to the 360, so that's 3, and then it got, I think that's 5. Then it got a Master Chief Collection reboot.
Wow.
Or not Master Chief Collection, a remastered edition reboot on the 360, and then that got ported over to the Xbox One. So if you want, I'm pretty sure that if you actually take the original disc from the original Xbox, it might actually still work in the Xbox One. I don't know if that's technically true anymore. There may be too many fucking things in between that it's not really compatible anymore. You can try that, but the easiest way to play the original series, honestly, is to get the Master Chief Collection. And so that came out like 2 or 3 years ago now.
Okay.
To a lot of negative publicity. But with it, you will get the remastered Halo CE, which is the original game, just, specs are upgraded and stuff. You get the remastered Halo 2 Anniversary Edition, which is remastered as well, obviously. Looks fucking incredible, and all the cutscenes are redone by Blur Studios Animations. They did a fucking incredible job with it. And then you also get the ported over HD 60 frames a second versions of Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo 4, although I don't fucking recommend playing that. And then if you really like Halo Reach, the only version you can get is the 360 version. You can also get it on the marketplace. It's been ported over to the Xbox One.
Okay, sweet. There you go. That's Halo.
There you go. Get the MCC.
Dude, my grab bag this week is actually a deterrent. I want to tell people not to watch something.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I was very excited to check out the Steve Martin and Martin Short Netflix comedy special. I think it's something called An Evening You Will Forget for the Rest of Your Life.
No.
Dude.
It's not good.
It's tough, man.
I knew it, son of a bitch.
I know. But that's why we got to talk about it on the pod. It's a warning. Listen, these guys are legends. They are legends for a reason. There are parts of this performance, I guess, that are pretty good.
Legally, you have to say performance.
But just like, but the best parts is like when Steve Martin just sits for 10 minutes with his banjo and just plays the banjo, and you're like, oh my God, Steve Martin is incredible at the banjo. Like, but all the comedy, just in terms of like their sort of interplay, just isn't. It's very post prime, and it's really too bad. So,
God, old comedians are so sad.
Yeah,
I can't think of a single one that is holding up
Yeah,
Can you think of anyone?
old comedians.
Yeah, old comedians from like the 70s or 80s.
No, I can't.
I mean, you got fucking Letterman doing his bullshit, and then I know you like the Jerry Seinfeld sort of show, but he is not that funny in it. Everyone else kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, I've always seen that as, I mean, and the Letterman too. Those are just like interview shows. There's like a talk show.
Yeah, I know, I get it, but I mean, I don't know. That's just it's sad because I really love Steve Martin, but I consider Martin Short like one of my favorite comedians ever.
Whoa.
And that is super disappointing.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, man.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's an evening you'll forget for the rest of your life, which...
Oh, very, very poignantly named.
Yeah.
That is salt in the wound right there. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was too bad.
How long has it been out for?
I think it came out last Friday.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to see reviews for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen many, so. But that's it's on Netflix. And that'll do it for this episode. Emilio,
Awesome.
If people want to find more episodes of the podcast or find you on the internet, tell them how to do that.
Pretty much I just moderate the Dude Is This Thing On channel on YouTube. YouTube / Dude Is This Thing On. You can also just search us. Just look for the little headphones. That's us. And we are also on SoundCloud. You can find us pretty much in the same way. I'm on Xbox playing old fucking games that nobody else wants to play anymore. And you can find me at Evil Elmo. Just, to lower cases, EVL space Elmo. And that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, I don't have any other public social media as of current.
You guys can always find me on Twitter at Tyler Daswick. And you can read my culture writing at relevantmagazine.com. Left this week, we have the series finale of The Americans. That's tonight as of this recording. And Friday, going to review the new season of Arrested Development also. Have you started watching that?
Oh, cool. No, I did. I honestly hadn't realized it came out yet. Whoops. I'm a bad Arrested Development fan. Have you started watching it?
I have. I've seen the first half so far.
Is it better than the last season?
Yeah, it really is. It's a good hang.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank God. Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. But that'll do it for this episode of Dude Is This Thing On. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you later.